Hey everybody, and welcome to Don't Copy That Floppy, your weekly video game news podcast broadcasting live Fridays, 7 to 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on twitch.tv/DCTF podcast. It's really more of a vodcast, I guess, but we're on iTunes. Check us out there so you can do it with just audio if that floats your boat. I'm your host, Lex, and I'm joined by my co-host,
Booge.
We missed last week.
Yes.
So we're going to do a couple of stories from then, and then we're going to jump into the stories of this week. Will we be able to fit into a whole hour? Probably not. But you know what? We did 2 weeks on time. Our last 2 episodes, we clocked on time. So you know what? I'm cool with going over. So it's Friday, August 24th. And goodness, we have a lot of stuff, as I was saying. So our stories from last week include a little ditty about known sexist Tyler Ninja Blevins.
Former former known KKK member.
Yeah,
Tyler Blevins.
yeah.
Who's KKK member who's sexist.
Mm-hmm. It's true.
Yep.
So then we're going to talk a little bit about a follow-up
An
to
actual garbage person.
someone who's actually bad. Unlike we poke fun at Tyler Blevins a lot, but he's not actually that bad a guy. But the guy we're going to talk about after him is an update to the Filip Musin story from a couple weeks back, and oof, what a terrible idiot. Mm-hmm. Just not only terrible, but just such a dumb person.
Yes.
Then we're going to talk about Gamescom and some announcements that came therein, including one tantalizing one about Cyberpunk, because everybody loves to hear about Cyberpunk. Then we're going to talk about politicians who love video games. Then we're going to talk about how nobody loves a certain shooter video game coming out soon. Then we're going to talk about basketball video games, basketball, whatever. Then Twitch taking away things from its platform. People aren't happy about that. Followed by Good Old Games demonstrating how much they hate DRM, which is always fun. And also kind of an update to last week, but just a quick thing, a little bit about Diablo, which I am excited about, and that's pretty much the only reason why I've included it. But, and if we have time, and we won't, but I guess I'll get it out of the way now. There was an indie showcase this week that was delightful and had a bunch of really fun stuff in it. And if we have time to talk about that when we talk about upcoming games at the end of the show, then I will probably mention some stuff from that. Chris, remind me or I will forget.
Okay.
So let's jump right in with Mr. Blevins, Mr. Ninja Blevins, with his bright hair.
Yeah.
So he did an interview a few weeks back. And they were asking him, the interviewer asked him, hey, you know what's weird? You have all these guests on stream, most notably rapper Drake.
Yes.
And yet, none of the guests you've ever had on stream have been women. Why is that? And Tyler Ninja Blevins went on to give the stupidest goddamn reason I've ever heard. So it's true that he does not have women on his stream, and he intends to never have women on his stream, and the reason for that is because he's a happily married man, and much like the vice president of the United States, he cannot hang out with other women because it could be a scandal. I
forgot about that. With the vice president.
it's really funny that those two people have this in common.
Yeah, they.
So yeah, his thing is he can't stream with another woman because he is afraid that the online community will start making up all these rumors about how he and this woman that he's streaming with must be doing it. And then he must be cheating on his wife. And then there's going to be like a million YouTube videos like that are conspiracy theories. And it's going to ruin his life. And he just can't deal with that. And he can't put his wife through that. So he's just going to take that whole thing out of the equation by just never interacting with another woman ever again in the public eye.
Ever. Just never even look at a woman. Women don't exist in his life anymore.
Nope.
Yeah. This is absurd. Obviously. I mean, obviously, it's his choice to do what he wants. He can decide to do these things if he wants. But this is a very odd choice because, one, if you're marriage is in threat of you acknowledging another woman exists, then maybe you should check the quality of your marriage. Or, if your wife is that easily off put, then that's on her, I guess. And then it's just like it doesn't make any sense. And then there's the thing that a lot of people were arguing about against him, was that Mr. Blevins is a internet celebrity of some import. He gets a lot of viewers when he plays Fortnite, and a lot of people watch him. And whoever he's with is usually risen there, like the high tide raises all boats thing. When somebody else plays with them, they in turn get a ton of people to watch their stuff and become followers of theirs. So it's really kind of fucked up that he would just never have women on. So he's never kind of he's never giving any female streamers the chance to rise the way that some of his other guests have, which is just very much unfair.
Yeah, it's really not cool. When he was asked about this, because it was like, I think this story sort of happened at a weird time, because it happened like right after we did our last episode. So we didn't get to report on it then, and then last week we didn't do one. So during that time period, there was the controversy, and then there was an update to it. And the update was he got interviewed again as like a follow-up, because a lot of people were asking him about this, obviously. And his response, or part of his response, I should say, quoted in this article is, "While I understand some people have implied my views mean I have something against playing with women, I want to make it clear the issue I'm addressing is online harassment. And while my attempt to minimize it in our life." Blevins wrote on his Twitter account, the R referring to himself and his wife, Jessica J. Ghosty Blevins.
J.
Ghosty. So he's also said, when people asked him about this, that his decision to do this had nothing... he did not talk to his wife about this before he made this policy. He came up with this on his own.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not like I don't know if she would even necessarily be bothered by this, but his point here about harassment and minimizing it, I do sympathize with. And it's one of the reasons why I'm like, okay, he's not a bad guy. He's not a courageous guy, I think, is the thing.
He's just a little doofy. He's just a bit doofy.
Yeah. Because, as you said, he's a streamer of some import. He's probably one of the biggest streamers out there.
Yeah,
and
I think he is.
Yeah,
like the biggest streamer.
I mean, that's what Drake will do. But he, and because of that, he knows that people are gonna like he had said in his original interview, people are going to gossip about any girl streamer he's with. His quote was, "Even if there's a hint of flirting, that's going to be taken and going to be put on every single video and be clickbait forever." So I totally believe that.
Yes,
and agree
because
with
that
him.
Probably would happen.
Yeah, on that point, that if he streams with a woman and there's any hint of flirting, there's going to be a million YouTube videos and blog posts and Reddit threads and all sorts of tweets about how he's obviously cheating on his wife. Yes, that's probably true, and I think it's easy for us as people who are not in the public eye the way he is to sort of just be like, well, it couldn't be that big a deal, because I think it probably is. It is online harassment towards him and his wife.
Absolutely. Yeah, I was going to say, I mean, I think anybody that grew up with the internet knows that even if you're not famous, even if you're a nobody like us, like, people are really shitty on the internet, and like, even it doesn't matter if you're Ninja or me or whatever, people are going to go after you for something. It doesn't matter what it is. And I can't imagine that on the scale that he must face on a daily basis. Like, it's just magnified to such a outrageous degree. So I can understand. Yes, I understand that is a problem. It's a huge problem. But I think it's also one that can, if you have some self-control, you can have it not bother you. Because just don't read the reviews. Like, don't that's an old phrase, but like, don't read the bullshit, because generally speaking, all that stuff is still a minority of the people that are going to be watching you if you're as big as he is. Like, you can make as many Reddit threads as you want, as many clickbait videos, but in the end, it's going to still be a very small portion of your viewer base that people are probably not going to pay attention to in the long run.
I think that's true, and I think it's one of those things where it's like, yeah, people are going to gossip about you regardless. If they don't have this as fodder for gossip, they're going to find something else. Maybe it's easier for them to gossip if that's there. Sure, I agree with that. But I think the bigger issue at play here is because, as we've said, he is a streamer of the greatest import. One of the responsibilities that comes along with that is to try to prop up other people and to set a good example for the community. Because one of the things is, like I said, he's not wrong about the community having some really crappy people in it. But the way you fix that issue is by actively trying to fix that issue, not avoiding the issue.
Right. Yeah. It's a little cowardly to not be like, well, in the face of of these problems, he should have just gave him the middle finger and be like, "Fuck you! I'm only going to be streaming with women now." And yeah, but that's I can see why he took the position he took, but it's unfortunate that he wasn't courageous to say "fuck you" to the people that make it bad in the first place.
Yeah, because we do so many stories, and this sort of ties it into the bigger picture here, is we've done so many stories over the years, and I mean Gamergate was a big part of this, of people on the internet just being awful, and a lot of different nerdy subcultures, be it video games or a lot of the nerdier movie franchises, comic books, all sorts of stuff like that, sometimes RPGs, just have some really crappy people in them who will then who will harass online. And the best way to stamp that out is to have the people at the top consistently and constantly call out the bad behavior, because that's the only way that those communities are going to get any better. So you had a lot of, and I think one of the reasons why Gamergate festered for so long and sort of still does in many dark corners of the internet is because you had games press call people out. But then you really didn't have a majority of internet personalities and streamers call people out. Don't get me wrong, there were plenty who did. Yes. But there were a lot who just said, I don't want to get involved, this is stupid. And I think that just made the situation worse. I mean, you and I do a lot of RPG stuff, and this is sort of ancillary, but I think speaks to the topic in a way, is that there are crappy people in the D&D community, but you have pretty much 99% of the rest of the D&D community, including the people who make the game and the biggest streamers of the game, constantly fighting against that behavior. And I think as a result, that community is actually pretty good on most social media platforms. The percentage of people that are horrible is very small. But because you have those people, those proponents to this bad behavior are very openly against it, like, and very loudly against it. Yeah, but I just don't see that kind of really vocal majority pushback, especially not in video games, and that's why I think the community's just not as good.
Yeah. I wonder if some of that is because it's a younger, less mature community in general, or like compared to something like the kind of RPG community, which has been around for a lot longer. Yeah,
it could be that. Yeah. So I think the bottom line with this story, and we've kind of already talked about it for a while, but my bottom line with this is that I understand why Ninja's doing it, but I really, really wish that he would take a stand against harassment instead of just trying to avoid it.
Right. Yeah, it's a little uncourageous.
So let's talk about Filip again, shall we?
The actual bad person.
Now, after we did our story about Filip Mewson a couple weeks ago, quick recap for those who don't remember, he was an editor, the Nintendo editor at IGN. He did a video review of Dead Cells. It was pretty much completely plagiarized off of a small YouTuber's video review of Dead Cells. The YouTuber called him out. IGN fired him immediately and took down the review. And after we did our story on that, you sent me a video, a link to a video, that was from Filip Mewson's YouTube channel. and it was this weird like non-apology video. There was like it was sort of an apology but not really, and a lot of it was him talking about how it was not cool that people were harassing him over this and his family, which is the only thing that I will say is a reasonable point in his entire video. Is like, why would you harass his family over this? That doesn't like, I mean, don't harass him either, just don't ever hire him or trust him for anything. But
just leave him in a corner somewhere and forget about him.
But the video talked about that. It talked about how he made one mistake. He didn't even necessarily describe it that way. It was weird. He talked about how he didn't really apologize to the channel that he plagiarized from, and he didn't really admit to plagiarizing. He sort of was just like, "Oh, this is a misunderstanding."
Yeah, he kind of awkwardly talked around it, which was very strange, and then he kind of played a little bit of a victim card about some of the plagiarism stuff. It was very strange.
There's a screen cap from it in this article, and it's just the most perfectly encapsulated screen cap of Filip Mewson I've ever seen. But,
and by the way, the video doesn't exist anymore. He took it down.
Oh, he did take it down. At the end of the video, though, one of the things he does is he calls out Kotaku, and he calls out like all the different people who had originally brought up this plagiarism thing, saying, listen, you wanna, because one of the things that had happened right after the initial news of him plagiarizing that, was that Kotaku, Jason Schreier specifically, looked into a couple things and said, hey, there are like 2 or 3 other things he did that may have been plagiarized, but I haven't looked into it too much yet. And he just like put that in one of his articles. So in this non-apology video, Mewson said, oh yeah, Kotaku, you think I plagiarized other stuff? That's not true. I dare you to try and find anything else that I plagiarized. And Jason Schreier, being a real reporter, said, okay, cool, I'll take you up on that bet. And oh my god.
You don't fuck around when Jason Schreier.
No, you don't. He's like it's, to make a long story short, it seems like pretty much everything he did, at least at IGN, was very likely plagiarized. IGN even put out a statement saying, because they started doing an internal investigation, and they had said, we've seen enough now, both from the thread and our own searches, that we're taking down pretty much everything he did.
Yeah.
It's incredible. I'm trying to find specific examples with this article against from last week, so I'm not quite as polished up on it.
They said that at least some of the games that IGN was going to re-review because he did were ports of Doom and Skyrim on Switch. Both have been replaced with the same message. This article has been removed due to concerns over similarities to work by other authors. The author of this article is no longer employed at IGN. What else? I think FIFA. There's a FIFA game apparently.
Oh yeah, I think he stole that from Nintendo Life. He took a Nintendo Life article and plagiarized it, which is like, how did no one notice that?
Yeah. And then it gets even more like comical. Apparently, on his reviews of Super Mario Odyssey and Shantae Half Genie Hero, he plagiarized excerpts from Wikipedia about the game. That's real good. Octopath Traveler was copied from another IGN colleague.
Which is another thing where I was like, how is no one noticing this?
Yeah. And then like the comedic cherry on top is that his LinkedIn resume is copied from a job template website. It's great. This is great. You cannot make this shit up. It's amazing.
It's, oh my gosh. So IGN further said, we're deeply disappointed and upset that it's looking more and more likely that we unwittingly hosted work that was directly lifted from, or at best heavily derived from, others, wrote IGN editorial manager Justin Davis on Twitter. I assure you we are taking very active steps to remove it all and make it right. I feel betrayed.
Yeah.
On one small level, I am a little mad at Justin Davis because you're a managing editor. These articles, I mean, they probably don't cross your desk, but they cross your email before they go to publication, or maybe an editor underneath you. Sure. He was plagiarizing not only from Nintendo Life, but from other IGN people, and you never caught any of it.
I know. I
Like
know.
that's
It's
your editorial staff sucks. If
right.
that's if he was doing it the whole time that he worked there, which granted I think was like not that long. I don't exactly remember, but I think it was only like a couple of years maybe.
Still, I mean, you're at IGN. It's the biggest,
Yeah.
one of the biggest video game websites in the world. Um, it's interesting. I listened to Greg Miller talk about this, who used to be a big guy at IGN. He does his own stuff now. And he's talking about this story, and he says, they said the same thing. He's like, a lot of people are putting a shit ton of blame on the editorial staff, and they should put some pressure on them because that is their responsibility. And he said, he's like, in like the 10 years that I've worked there, across the entire press, like games press, no one ever did anything like this. Everyone just assumed that you wanted to be writing about games so badly that it would never even cross your mind to plagiarize at this level, at this high of a publication. That like the editors never thought of it, the people writing never thought of it because they never thought it could actually happen. And the fact that some guy like this dude committed basically what is a capital crime of professional writing, they'll probably be a lot more stringent now across maybe the entire video games press overall, because this is kind of unprecedented in terms of the breadth and scope to which he was plagiarizing under everyone's nose is crazy. It's really nuts. So yeah, I imagine that a lot of things are going to change at IGN and other big sites when it comes to their editorial board.
I think there also might have been some stuff. One of the things he mentions in his non-apology video, which as we had said, after Kotaku started digging up all of these additional evidence of plagiarism, he took the non-apology video down off of his YouTube channel. There was some side article I read about how people are looking into his YouTube videos, because one of the things he says in the video is he had nothing but respect for Boomstick Gaming, the people who he plagiarized, because he started off as a humble YouTuber as well, and then was hired to IGN out of that.
Mm-hmm.
And people were looking at some of his other YouTube things, and they're like, "Oh yeah, these are also derivative of other things." So So it seems as though, and this probably is the reason why he's such a dumbass in his non-apology video, where he like asks Kotaku to investigate him as if he has nothing to hide, is it seemed like he's been doing this his entire career, like his entire life. He's just been plagiarizing stuff for video game things, and there's just never a point when he's gotten caught. So I guess he figured it's just not a big deal.
Yeah, because at that point, I think that like psychologically something happens to you where it's just like you don't even think about it anymore, or it's just like it's just the thing that I do. I'm just doing the thing. No, I didn't plagiarize anything. They're all my original thoughts, and it's yeah, it's strange. And I don't think it'll ever happen, but I would like someone to sit down with them and just be like, "Why'd you do it? Like your career's over, so let's talk about why you did it," and see if they can actually put his feet to the fire and actually get real answers out of him. I doubt that will happen, but it would be interesting to see it. Yeah. Fucking Phil Mewson.
Poor dumb Philip.
Yes.
So that's it for last week's news. We're only halfway through the show, and let's talk about Gamescom, shall we?
Shall we? This will be short because Gamescom, while it is a huge not convention, it's like a trade show over in Germany, happened this week. Not a lot really got announced, nothing huge at least, just some small things, so just runs down some stuff. Devil May Cry 5 showed off some new things. People were pretty excited about it. There will be no new Assassin's Creed game coming in 2019, so they're kind of going back to their non-yearly cycle. Let's see what else. I don't think Nintendo was at the Gamescom, but they did have their little nindies at that time and announced some stuff. Soul Calibur 6, I think, got a release date and showed some DLC stuff. Cyberpunk, which we'll talk about in a little bit. They showed Sekiro, Shadows Die Twice, the new game from FromSoft coming out, and they gave it a release date. And it looks pretty damn cool. It looks kind of similar to the Souls games, but maybe a little bit faster with a little bit more mobility. You have like a grappling gun arm thing, so you can traverse very easily and stuff like that. But definitely looks like a Souls game, which is good. There's some Destiny 2 stuff. What else happened? They they showed more Resident Evil 2 stuff, some more screenshots. Looks awesome. Looks exactly what I want. Please give me it all. And showed Spyro, and that's kind of it. Not a lot of stuff happened. A lot of playable stuff at the show floor, but no huge announcements. It seemed like everyone kind of blew their wad during E3 this year. So another year passes, and another year where people think that Gamescom is going to overtake E3 doesn't happen. So maybe next year. Keep on trying, Gamescom. But I think out of Gamescom, there was one kind of interesting bit of news about Cyberpunk. So before Gamescom, Cyberpunk tweeted out like this kind of thing that there was going to be Cyberpunk version 2, blah, 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 download, Cologne, Germany stuff. And everyone's like, oh my god, they're finally going to show the gameplay to the public. Didn't happen, unfortunately. I think one of the producers said something like, we're just not ready to show it to the public yet. And they said that they were surprised that people were so excited to see it at E3. It's like, well, kind of no shit. Maybe you should get out of the office every once in a while. But they did show a demo to press again. It was pretty much the same exact one as E3, but they changed some things. So, like on the missions, they took another route instead of the route that they took on the E3 one. It also took place at night because apparently a lot of people were bitching that it was sunny because I guess sunny doesn't mean cyberpunk, and those are the same people that probably don't understand that cyberpunk's about social injustice. But
it's not just about cool trench coats. I thought it was just about cool trench coats.
I thought it was about cyber eyes and noir lighting, and not class oppression. But so they showed this, and apparently it still looks fucking great. And this is a semi-long interview. They talk about basically the scenery, what it looks like at night and stuff like that. But the really most interesting part is like the last paragraph in this interview from Engadget by Jessica Condit, where she was interviewing one of the producers. And it says, Cyberpunk 2077 has been in development for at least 6 years, and its team recently hit a major milestone. The entire game is playable from start to finish. It doesn't have all the proper assets, play testing, or bug fixes in place, but seeing the story come together is a critical step in the development process, Borzymowski said. It gives, quote, it gives you all the answers to all of your doubts, he said. It just feels great. So that's good news. It's playable from start to finish, but apparently they don't have proper assets and stuff like that, which just made me want to ask the question to you. When do you think this game's coming out?
I mean, I assumed it was coming out either 2019 or 2020.
Yeah. I'm thinking 2020 or later now. Like, it might be 2021. Which really is upsetting. But it just seems like they're not in a rush. They don't have to worry about money, so they don't have to come out with this thing anytime soon. Because I'm very excited for this game for many reasons. But I just keep on trying to think about the trajectory over the next couple of years of how they're going to show this thing, and it's going to be at E3 again next year. And are they actually going to show gameplay by that point? Or are we still going to be another kind of cinematic trailer? And then I really don't think that you can show this game at 3 E3s and with people still maintaining the hype. For the game.
Yeah.
Even though I think The Witcher was at like 4 E3s. So, yeah. I don't know. I hope it comes out in 2020. But we'll see.
We'll see. See how it goes.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's talk about skeezy politicians of the current timeline rather than a dystopian cyberpunk one.
Well, I mean, this guy sounds kind of like a cyberpunk villain.
So there is this whole thing, and this kind of extends beyond video game news, but there's a congressman who has been indicted for spending campaign money just on himself, basically. And there's all sorts of stuff. He paid to have his pet rabbit flown on a plane with campaign money. It's ridiculous. All these ridiculous
to be fair,
expenses.
I would do that too.
And part of that is they've uncovered that he spent $1,500 on Steam games.
On, quote, at Steam games on video games, unquote.
Yeah. Well, I expect better from some of the press, but So this is Representative Duncan Hunter, who's a Republican, shocker, from California. And...
Now, why do you say that, Lex? Let's dig into that.
Am I trying to... Oh no, this show's become heavily partisan.
It shows political. Hey, get politics out of my games coverage, please.
We're all just SJWs, ruining video games for everybody. So, this guy and his wife, who worked as his campaign manager for some time, just used the campaign card to charge it to a bunch of different things. And one of the funny things is when he was first started getting caught over this, he was just like, oh, my wife, she charged the campaign card by mistake. That's what happened. We know now, though. We'll fix it. And then the journalists were like, oh, okay, so you're going to, reimburse your campaign with your own money for those expenses? And he's like, yeah. And then that never happened. So... and I think his story was similarly stupid with the video game thing, the Steam thing. Let's see. There was personal purchases. So his wife, Margaret Hunter, claimed at one point those purchases were personal and put on the campaign credit card in error, according to the documents. The campaign later promised in FEC reports that the Hunter family would pay back over $1,300 in Steam purchases from personal funds for this reason. But in 2016, according to the changing documents, Margaret Hunter falsely told her bank that the Steam charges were fraudulent and received $1,302 credit for the purchases.
Jesus Christ. So, imagine being this white and rich.
I know. So not only did they take money that wasn't theirs and spend it on frivolous bullshit, and they weren't going to play those Steam games. I don't even play the Steam games I buy. And I don't buy nearly over $1,300 worth.
That's a lot of money to spend on Steam.
I know, right? Because everything's always on sale. They must have a million games. There's no way they could have played them all. But so not only did they take other people's money, because people would donate it to the campaign, that's where that money came from, right? So they took other people's money to buy the games. Then this lady went to the bank and said, oh, those games were fraudulently purchased. Refund me that money. So then she got the money back that she, I assume, just put in her own pocket and spent on something else.
Yeah. Maybe more games. Just keep the cycle going.
Lavish personal expenses, personal spending on vacations, clothing, food, drink, salon trips, dental work. Dental work?
Dental is expensive.
Yeah, no, dental work is expensive. I actually kind of understand that. And more while concealing the spending from the FEC and investigators. So there's a funny thing in here about how originally, he had tried to throw his son under the bus. Yeah. As the San Diego Tribune reports, a Hunter spokesman says the charges originally stemmed from Hunter's teenage son who, quote, used his father's credit card for one game, after which, quote, several unauthorized charges resulted after the father tried to close access to the website.
The website?
Yeah, that's not... You don't know what Steam is. That's a bit of a pat explanation, considering that Steam games were charged to Hunter's campaign account on 68 separate occasions between October 13th and December 16th, with $96 spent in one instance.
What the fuck was he buying? That's what I'm interested in. I want to know what games he was buying. That is not normal Steam purchasing behavior.
Managing your various payment methods on Steam can be a little difficult, but that's a long time for a parent to utterly fail at, quote, closing access to the website. So there's a possibility that his son is the one who spent $1,300 on Steam games with his father's campaign credit card. But the fact that the father immediately threw the son under the bus, and the fact that earlier he also threw his wife under the bus, and that was proved to be false, makes me think, oh no, I think he bought those games himself.
Right, especially when they were already spending all this money in other places in the first place. Yeah, I want to know what the games were and what like maybe they were just all loot boxes. Maybe spend it all on loot boxes. He's like a degenerate gambler.
Oh no. Oh my gosh, maybe they were all maybe he was skin gambling. They were all
Yeah,
just skins. He has all the gun skins now.
yeah, they're all knives for Counter-Strike.
Yep.
Yeah, and this is interesting. If you in the original story, which was in 2016, he also sounds like a guy that he railed out against how video games are used as a scapegoat for real world violence, saying things like the narrative that children and young adults today stare at television and computer screens developing lethal skills through first person gaming experience disingenuously portrays video games as having a corrosive influence. He wrote. The problem with the rationale is that it conveys an image of America's youth are incapable of discerning right from wrong, which is simply not true. Outside of gaming, Hunter gained national notoriety in February for vaping from an e-cigarette during a House hearing debating a ban on vaping in planes. So he sounds like a real cool bro, basically writing this 2013 Politico editorial about the same thing that I wrote in like my first year of college in like 2007 or something. So real ahead of the time, this dude. Yeah. Sounds like an idiot. He sounds like a dum dum.
Man, he just like it's so hard to get caught for doing stuff like this.
Yeah.
Like if anybody who's listening, like I know we have some listeners who are in the UK and your election stuff doesn't work the same way ours does because yours actually works. And in America, it is so easy for politicians to get political donations and to just launder them in some way so that they basically put them into their pocket and to like write off
super PACs.
Yeah, and just write off expenses and stuff. It's so easy. So the fact that this guy couldn't even be bothered to do that, and the investigation of him took years. Because our government, specifically the FEC, is so bad at doing anything about politicians that do stuff like this. And he still screwed it up. Like, it's incredible to me how stupid this guy is.
Yeah. No, I mean, yeah, I think in American politics, it's almost like a given, especially for like presidential nominations, that it's like, yeah, they're just using this as basically like a Patreon. They're just taking all this money and using it for whatever the fuck they want. Because it's, it's America, Lex. We have freedom, unlike the British. Okay. This guy's a fucking idiot. So he's going to be e-vaping all the way to jail. Actually, he probably won't go to jail. He'll probably just go to white collar prison on a golf course.
So that, I mean, it's just incredible.
Yeah.
I can't even, we're just going to move on. We're just going to move on to something else.
Politicians.
I really wish that someone would, what was the publication that we're doing Twitch streams with politicians?
Oh, the Washington Post.
I don't know if they did a stream with him, but I really hope they did.
Yeah.
Because now I want to watch it real bad.
I need to check back in on that, see if they've had anyone interesting on.
I would love it if they did a stream with him, and during the stream he was just like, man, I love Steam. I got so many Steam games. You guys.
I got a real pile of shame on Steam.
Uh-huh.
It's about it's $1,300 worth. It was my son's. My son bought it.
My son bought it. I couldn't close access to the website.
Yeah, I couldn't shut the website off.
So, let's talk about Battlefield.
Yay.
Battlefield. It's a game. It's like COD, but it's not. But it basically is. So, Battlefield 5, going back to World War II, it's coming out soon. Turns out people aren't very excited for Battlefield 5 because we've got some reporting that apparently Battlefield 5 is potentially headed for serious disappointment. And this is because the pre-order numbers that we have for Battlefield 5 that some basement Columbos have discovered are more than 85% behind the pre-order numbers of games such as Call of Duty Black Ops 4 and that game. I thought Red Dead Redemption 2, but I think they might not be that much behind Red Dead Redemption 2, but they're also significantly behind Red Dead Redemption 2. And also Assassin's Creed Odyssey. So this is bad because 85% behind your main competitor is pretty far behind. Now, this article points out that Battlefield typically is about 20 to 40% behind the Call of Duty games. because Call of Duty is just the better known FPS, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's not to say that Battlefield is not well known, but the one that more people are playing is typically, you think of COD rather than Battlefield.
They're different. Well, at least with the multiplayer, they're very different games.
Yeah,
but yeah.
So that's, it's bad that they're taking that much of a hit, but a lot of people are also quick to point out, and I'm quick to point out, that you're trying to release Battlefield 5 in the same month as your main competition, Black Ops 4, but also Red Dead Redemption 2.
Yeah.
Like a game that's super hyped. So hyped.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, this is, in terms of release schedules, it's always a jockeying for position thing, where pretty much the couple months leading up to Christmas are always this race for finding a position for your game to release in. Because if something like Red Dead Redemption 2 is launching in the year that you're releasing your game, you don't want to be anywhere near it. You don't want to be anywhere near that release date at all, because it's going to just melt everything else in its presence, It's going to destroy everything. And this is something that, as they mention a little bit, that this is the release scheduling is something that EA's had problems with before. As they say, with the release date directly in between Black Ops 4 and Red Dead Redemption 2, we worry that Battlefield 5 could be headed for a similar fate as 2016's Titanfall 2, which got squeezed out by its launch date directly between Battlefield 1 and Call of Duty Infinite Warfare. And Titanfall 2, when that came out, there was hype behind it, but no one bought it because it was really squished in between those two other games. Mm-hmm. Also, this is also disappointing for Battlefield, because they recently had a high with Battlefield 1, which was the best-selling game in the Battlefield franchise. And I think everyone was really hyped for that one because it was unique, and it was set in World War I, with some historical accuracy notwithstanding. It was still cool. It was still an awesome setting, a setting that not a lot of people had seen. It had a unique vision, had a good name, just that Battlefield 1. And I think that, just coming right back with a more bland looking, in my opinion, Battlefield 5 doesn't really do it much justice, But that's the problem when you annualize these games. It's like there's only so many wars that you can fictionalize. And there's only so many stories you can tell, if you have to do these every single year. That's why Call of Duty got crazy, and they started doing like shit on Mars and like psychedelic drug trips in Vietnam and stuff like that, because they ran out of shit to do. And now they've run out of shit to do again, and they're just going back to World War II again. So yeah, I think it's just the the intellectual bankruptcy of these games that come out every year. And I think that's why, I think there'll be ups and downs. I don't think Battlefield will ever go away, but I think that these games should do what Assassin's Creed is doing and take some time off and really kind of think of something cool to do, because Assassin's Creed was in that boat too. They're really I think that they can take more liberty with their games because it's a more broad-based kind of fiction, but you run out of stuff. You run out of cool fictional times and places to explore and jump off of buildings. So yeah, they should take some time, figure out their shit, and come back at it. Because I don't really like the Call of Duty games personally. They're big bombastic games with kind of bad shooting, I think. But the Battlefield games, the multiplayer is really fun. Usually, it's just like a big open map with a lot of players, and it's like a back and forth, and it's really good. So I'd like to see them get back on top.
Yeah, no, I think I said it when Battlefield 5, when they were first talking about Battlefield 5, or maybe I talked about it when we were doing our E3 coverage, but like going back to World War II, that's lazy. It's real lazy. Mm-hmm. Don't do that. Nobody cares. And maybe not releasing every year, especially because the boom of the FPS military shooter was a long time ago now.
Yes.
And at that time, and even for a significant amount after that time, there was room in the market for multiple military shooters. Like there was room for a Battlefield and a COD and a Halo.
And a Medal of Honor.
And those days are gone, you guys.
Yes.
Halo already figured that out. They left.
Yeah, pretty much.
Those days are long gone. And the fact that you have EA just being like, no, we can... A Battlefield and a COD can come out in the same year. We can both do extremely well. No, man.
Yeah. No, and I mean, that's the thing is that at the end of the day, I think they will do what Ubisoft did if they see that people aren't buying it. Because Yves Guillemot famously said when someone's like, "Why do you make an Assassin's Creed every year when they used to?" He said, "Because you keep buying them." And it's like, if a company's still making money off these annualized things, they're going to keep doing it. And if EA sees that they're not making money off this, they're going to drop it.
Yeah.
I mean,
So
yeah.
if they had just released it in a different month, they'd probably still be better off, but probably still wouldn't be doing fantastically. There's also I don't even know if they're rumors so much as confirmed. I think they might just be rumors, but people have been talking about how Battlefield 5 is going to have a battle royale mode in its multiplayer.
Yeah, so it will. That's a confirmed thing, I believe.
And theoretically, what they're going to do is, if the game doesn't sell well, the battle royale mode was going to be DLC, I think, paid DLC. Instead, what they're going to do is release the battle royale mode as a free standalone thing, similarly to what Fortnite originally did.
Yes.
Assuming that Battlefield 5 doesn't sell up to their expectations, and it probably won't, so that's probably what we're going to see happening. But again, I think that's also a bad move because as we saw with Lawbreakers and Radical Heights, you can't just be like, "Oh, it'll be fine. We'll just release a battle royale game and that'll make us all our money back." No, dude. Like, don't get me wrong. I'm sure Battlefield 5's battle royale will be much better than Radical Heights was, but it's still a flawed strategy because that market is already cornered.
There's definitely a lot of it's pretty saturated. I think that'll be the litmus test though, because we still haven't had a big AAA game come out with a battle royale mode yet. As in, I'm talking about like a Battlefield or a Call of Duty or like a Assassin's Creed or something. Assassin's Creed battle royale should probably be pretty fun. We haven't seen one of these big games come out with a battle royale mode yet. And this is going to be the first one. And if it's going to crash and then they come out with a free battle royale mode, that'll be the litmus test to see if it is fully saturated or if there's still room for people to jump again and play a different game. Because it won't be Radical Heights. It'll actually work and have textures and stuff like that. And the shooting will be good. So
my bet that I'm putting down right now is it's not going to work. Is that it is going to play out this way where Battlefield 5 isn't going to sell very well, because I mean the pre-order numbers pretty much tell us that's what's going to happen. And then they're probably going to release the battle royale thing, and I think it's not going to work for them. I don't think anyone's going to care. I think they're going to care for like a couple weeks, and then everyone's going to forget about it and go back to Fortnite.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, it's strange when you see the numbers between like PUBG and Fortnite. I think that represents like the crowd, right? It's you have like the people that were into the more niche gamers and hardcore gamers, usually an older audience, into PUBG because it's more realistic, even though it's like it breaks all the time. And you have the kids who play Fortnite because it's free on their phone and you can build stuff with it and do dances. So
do all those dances.
I guess my point is that there is no, unlike say like crafting games that came out of Minecraft and stuff like that, there is no general populace that has not been soaked up yet. Like that populace is already soaked up by those two games. So I don't see Joe Q football who only buys one game a year and it's Call of Duty, all of a sudden being like, "Whoa, what's Battle Royale?" and picking up Battlefield for the first time and not knowing what it is because he probably already knows what Fortnite is.
Yeah, he's already downloaded Fortnite for free, so he's playing a Battle Royale game already, and he has no reason to play Battlefield 5 Battle Royale. So sorry, Battlefield 5, you messed up. You messed it up. Should have had a better release schedule.
Yep, better luck next time.
Yep.
Whether it be in another Star Wars game or a Battlefield game.
So let's talk about B-Ball.
B-Ball Hoop Dollars. So a while ago, we talked about Hoop Dollars, and in 2K, NBA 2K's really whacked out loot box and fake money game that they had in their game that no one liked. And then we talked for what felt like my entire life about loot boxes. And then we talked about Europe cracking down on loot boxes and starting to the legislative process of actually putting some rules in place in trying to stop them. And it looks like the mighty Titan NBA 2K has been taken down by little old Belgium. So this is from Gamasutra. NBA 2K publishers 2K Games has removed certain loot box mechanics from its title in an attempt to comply with Belgium's revamped gambling laws. Back in April, the Belgian Gaming Commission chose to ban those controversial monetization mechanics after investigating its usage in popular games like Star Wars Battlefront 2, FIFA 18, and Overwatch. The loot box apocalypse that went on back then. Oh my god, it was a scandal. The commission ultimately deemed loot boxes to be, quote, games of chance, which they are, and choose to outlaw them to protect youngsters from the effects of gambling advertising. Gambling advertising. The decision made 2K means 2K has been forced to amend, I can't read today, NBA 2K's My Team mode, which lets players build their own custom basketball squad by turning off the ability to purchase randomized card packs using real-world cash. Players will still be able to buy card packs using in-game currency, which can be earned by playing the game. Despite doing its part to comply with the laws, 2K isn't happy with the changes and says it disagrees with the new position. Quote, the Belgian Gaming Commission, the BGC, of course, has stated that games, which include certain, quote, loot box style mechanics, violate gambling laws in Belgium. Reads the company's name and, quote, while we disagree with this position, we are working to comply with the BGC's current interpretation of these laws. The publisher intends to continue talking to the commission to explain how the game's My Pack purchases already comply with local laws, and he asked players that agree to the contracts and the local government representatives to share their opinion. So I think it's funny that's like, oh, their interpretation of the laws is wrong. It's like they make the laws. It's not an interpretation. They made them.
Listen, we really want to charge these people, so we're going to say that red is orange because it makes us money to say that. And I like the funny sentence at the end that you said where they've asked players that agree with their pack policy to contact their local government representative and share their opinion. And I'm like, yeah, 0 players are doing that.
Yeah.
Because nobody likes loot boxes.
Right. The basketball fan in Bruges is really going to want to do more microtransactions. Probably not. So I guess good on Belgium. One of these European countries that are trying to crack down on these things for actually following through and getting results. It shows that we've talked about this a lot and how like a lot of these companies kind of put up a big facade, but it's like when push comes to shove, Activision or 2K rather would rather sell games in Belgium than have to not make a little bit of extra money off the loot boxes because they're already making tons of extra money from the in the West. Yeah. So probably see more of this stuff happen as time goes on. So
it's interesting little loot box update. I'm surprised you brought a loot box update story to the table this week.
It's just because it had to do with hoop dollars.
Hoop dollars.
Those sweet hoop dollars.
Ooh, so good. So Twitch, do you love them or hate them? They're a big company owned by Amazon, and they are now taking away things that they previously gave to viewers of certain streams. So there's an interesting article about this, talks about the perspective of one Japanese streamer who talks about how they put the whole Twitch Prime thing that we've had for a little while, they brought to Japan in December of 2017, so the end of 2017. And they announced earlier this week that the Prime subscription service will no longer offer ad-free viewing.
Son of a bitch.
So that was one of the benefits, is you would get Amazon Prime, and then you could pick a channel to subscribe to because you just get a free one through Amazon Prime, and then you wouldn't have to watch ads on that channel, and there's money going towards that channel, which is great. So you're helping the creator, and you don't have to watch ads, and you get the VODs or whatever else you get for being subscribed. Yeah. Now they're taking away one of the benefits of that. Now the only way to have no ads is to have Twitch Turbo, I think it's called. Yeah. But Twitch Turbo doesn't. That's more than the Amazon Prime subscription that you already maybe you already have, and it doesn't give you a subscription to a certain channel. So you're not. So if you get Turbo, you're not supporting any streamers specifically. You're just getting ad-free viewing, I believe.
Right. Yeah, it's like a TV subscription at that point.
Yeah, and it sucks because it's very clear that, or at least to me, it seems that what's going on here is Amazon said, okay, we're gonna put this thing in to tantalize people to getting Amazon Prime and then using Twitch because we just bought Twitch. And now enough people have done that, so we no longer need to offer this to anyone because we don't need to, get the eyeballs, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I assume that's why they're doing it, and it makes sense from a business perspective, and it's certainly the MO of Amazon, because lest we forget, that's basically how Amazon built their business. They started off offering even deeper discounts on everything, yep. And then as soon as they ran all of the other internet marketplace competition away, their prices became more normal.
Yeah, because they didn't even turn a profit until a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
And then they're just all right, now fuck you guys, and made everything expensive.
Yeah, so it sucks, but it's not unexpected, really. It specifically sucks for Japan, as it's pointed out in this article, because they only started offering the ad-free Twitch Prime thing in this past December, so it hasn't even been a full year and they're already getting rid of it.
Mm-hmm.
So they didn't really get to reap the benefits that us in the West did, and I feel bad about that.
They also mentioned the first streamer in question. It does say some stuff that's interesting. I find this stuff interesting whenever I see it because I don't know. I guess I'm just an idiot. But he's talking about, he says, as of right now, the Twitch Prime subs have been a constant, but I feel like a lot of them are simply going to vanish since a lot of Japanese use other websites for shopping, aka Rakuten, which is Amazon's biggest competitor, according to Porter, and Kakaku, and Yahoo Auctions. And I just find it so interesting because you hear about that, and you hear about Alibaba in China. And it's just, I always find it funny or not funny, but interesting that it's people don't use Amazon. There's actually other websites that do this shit across the world. And yeah, that's a serious problem because if you're not going to Amazon to buy your gigantic packs of toilet paper on Amazon Prime, then chances are you're not going to stick around with a Prime subscription in the first place. Because you're going to Rakuten, of course.
Or Yahoo Auction.
Or Yahoo Auction. I mean, Yahoo's still around, I guess.
Oh my god, that's hilarious. I mean, that's one of the funny things about Yahoo is I'm always like, why are they still around? Because no one uses them anymore. But apparently in Asia, people still use Yahoo, and that's why they're still around.
And Yahoo Fantasy Sports is still a huge thing. It's a huge thing for people that play fantasy football. And I only know that because I have a cousin that is really into that shit. And apparently, Yahoo still kicking. But no, this makes sense. I always felt that the Twitch Prime thing when they announced that, when they're if you have an Amazon Prime, you get a Twitch Prime. When that happened, I thought it was strange. They probably did it for, like you said, to promote a lot of people to jump over to Twitch and check it out because they just bought it. But it was always implemented really badly because it didn't auto renew. So streamers had to always be hey, if you got that Twitch Prime, at the end of the month it's gonna go away. Mm-hmm. So just so you know, it was hard to kind of link them up. It wasn't immediately obvious how to do it. And it was always a strange thing. So it doesn't really surprise me that they want to go to more almost like a Netflix subscription service or something like that. That does start to kill I wonder how far they'll go with it. I wonder if they'll always keep subscriptions because so far it's been I guess a meritocracy, to use a word that we used a couple weeks ago, where it's up to the streamers to pimp their show and perform well enough so that they can get subscription money to live, and it'll be interesting if they start stripping that stuff away and make it more and more subscription based and maybe just start hiring people to be Twitch performers for them or something like that.
Let's see here. In the announcement they made about how they're taking this feature out, one of the things they say that's particularly galling is advertising is an important source of support for creators who make Twitch possible, Twitch said. This change will strengthen and expand that advertising opportunity for creators so they can get more support from their viewers for doing what they love. We want Twitch to remain a place where everyone can enjoy one-of-a-kind interaction, blah, 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 blah. So, come on, guys. You don't kick me in the face and then tell me you're helping me.
Yeah.
Like, I am not a Twitch streamer. Well, okay, I am a Twitch
We're on
streamer,
Twitch
but
streamer
I
right
am not
now.
a Twitch streamer that cares about this because we are so small that it doesn't matter to us.
Yes.
But
yes.
there are people who this policy, like the guy who's talked about in the article we started with, the Japanese or the streamer in Japan, who are just going to be hurt by this, and the fact that your initial statement is like, no, this is to help that person. No, it's not.
Right.
It's you trying to make more money. That's all this is.
Yes,
yes. And it's galling because it's something you see big companies do all the time, and you're seeing this happen on Netflix. Actually, they're starting to introduce ads on Netflix. And it's just this thing that these companies have been hyper successful and they have all this money, and it's like the same thing with loot boxes and microtransactions. You have these hyper successful products, they're doing great, but they're like, but how could we make more money?
How can I buy another boat?
Yeah, like, I know we're the most successful platform for streaming on the internet, and we make we make huge amounts of revenue, as we've reported on in the past, because all of these people are watching Twitch. But the executives are like, yeah, but what if we made more?
But Jeff Bezos is not just the richest man that's ever lived. He could be richer.
he could be the richest man in the universe.
In the galaxy. Yeah. That's like one of the funniest things recently. It's like Jeff Bezos has more money than like all of the kings of history put together or something. It was like, it's great. Yeah, it's really disappointing. It's an obvious corporate move, and I think you can sense that it's an obvious corporate move from Amazon. Because this is very much against the message of the Twitch company, like the leaders of Twitch, like when you see DJ Wheat and Anna Prosser Robinson out there and all, the heads of Twitch, and even the people that have been around forever, like Day9 and stuff like that. This is very much not the kind of message that they push. They're very much for, like, independent streamers making money through their audience, kind of the model that they've always used. And so I'm sure that they're not happy about this either, if I had to guess, because they're probably not making any money off of it either. So, yeah, it's too bad.
Oh, no. So, all right, let's see. We've reached an hour, but we're just going to keep on chugging.
Fuck it.
Let's keep going. We're going to be up all night talking about the news. Yeah, get crazy.
Oh, no. It's my nightmare.
Let's talk about fuck DRM.
Yeah, fuck DRM.
Yeah. So, the article from Game Debate, from August 24th, I realized that I haven't been citing any of the articles. That's my bad. CD Projekt Red and Good Old Games launch Fuck DRM, or spelled out as FCK DRM. Yeah, campaign against copy protection, which actually is kind of a misleading title because it's not really. It's sort of against copy protection, but whatever. So they basically launched a website that educates you as to what DRM is and how it can be bad. DRM-free approach in games has been the heart of goodoldgames.com from day one, writes Good Old Games. We strongly believe that if you buy a game, it should be yours, and you can play it the way it's convenient for you, not how others want you to use it. The landscape has changed since 2008, and today many people don't realize that what DRM even means, and still the DRM issue in games remains. You're never sure when and why you can be blocked from accessing them. And it's not only games that are affected, but your favorite books and movies, music, and apps as well. So this
my books.
Yeah, my books. So this is a really important point because a lot of people just use Steam and don't realize that Steam owns your games. You don't own your games.
You don't own your games.
Even if you spent $1,500 on those games, you don't really own them. You just sort of own the ability to play them.
You're renting them.
Yeah, you're renting them, basically, until Steam decides that, for whatever reason, that they can make up on their own. I mean, obviously, if they were just super ridiculous about it, there's a possibility of lawsuits, and there are countries that have taken that, or that could take Steam to court. They've taken Steam to court for similar infractions. But basically, there isn't a whole lot we can do if Steam just decides, nah, you don't. We're not going to let you access these anymore.
Lex, that would be straight up trolling, which is obviously a concrete definition that Steam likes to use to take away your thing.
Yep, that's true. Yep. Steam would never do that because it would be straight up trolling.
It would be straight up trolling.
Or
As
they would
as
decide,
decided by Gabe Nowell.
or they would decide it was illegal. You know?
Yeah. We decided to sue ourselves because that we can do that.
So so Good Old Games has always been about how their stuff is DRM free. So if you buy from Good Old Games, you get the download and the game is now yours. Now, why do things have DRM? This is because if there's DRM on games, it makes piracy more difficult. And that's a reasonable argument to some extent, but the point Good Old Games has always made is that it's too high a price to pay. And we don't even see, like, there's been a lot of studies in as to piracy in games and how piracy doesn't really affect the games market in any significant way. It might even help it in small ways because it's a try before you buy kind of deal. There's been similar research into movies and music. But yeah, so they say, like, hey, people don't realize that what DRM is, especially since it's been around so long. So they made this website that just tells you what DRM is and all the pitfalls of it. And it's great. It's a very simple website, and it just sort of tells you what it's about. And there's all these quotes from people in the games industry being like, yeah, DRM, it's not cool. I think Tim Schafer is in there. Wow, you can actually make a DRM-free version of a game and make more money than if you spent millions of dollars on copy protection. Yep.
Yeah. No, this is great. So for those that don't know, GOG.com. Oh, by the way, interesting little side fact. They are no longer technically Good Old Games. They're just GOG.
Yeah, because they try to have more modern stuff now. Yeah.
Yeah, which is funny, I guess. So GOG, they are owned by the same people that own CD Projekt Red, makers of Cyberpunk and The Witcher. They have a storied history with games distribution. They came out of Soviet bloc Poland, where Western goods were not allowed in, including video games. And there's a tale that I love. Martin Dusinski, I forgot his last name, but one of the founders of CD Projekt and GOG tells is that back in the day, back in the 80s, because you couldn't get Western games over the line, there would be radio stations who would broadcast the game's code. And because games used to play on tapes, like cassette tapes in Amigas and stuff, you would just put in the tape into your radio, and at a certain time of day, the broadcaster would broadcast the code, and you'd hit record, and you'd record the game from the radio, and then take it out, and put in your Amiga and play it. And I just think that's fucking great. But they come from this background where, and that's where they came from, was they were, after communist control stopped in Poland, they realized that there was a huge market for localization of games that people had not been playing for, since communism began. And they started a porting company and hiring Polish actors and stuff to start porting these Western games, and they did super well, and that was the beginning of Good Old Games and CD Projekt Red, and then they started making the Witcher games and blah blah blah, and now we have fuck DRM.
I'm gonna finish that thought, but then I'm gonna read a quick thing from the site.
Oh, go ahead.
Okay. So when it talks about what DRM is, games with DRM include a layer of software or code on top of what's needed to just play the game. Nowadays, DRM will send your information to an online server. It could run checks to see if you've touched any files, or outright refuse access unless you've logged in somewhere. In other words, DRM is there to question what you're doing every step of the way.
Yep, that's very right. And digital rights management has been around for a long time. Some of the best ones are like the old King's Quest games, where you'd have your game manual, and there'd be things in the book that the game would ask you. Like, they'd be like, oh, what the answer to this is on page 6, paragraph 3, line 2. And, you'd have to have the book, the physical book, to be able to solve the problem and continue going. And that was old school digital rights management. And the worry back then is that people were going to copy the disc and sell them at, computer fairs and stuff and make money off their games. And that Tim Schafer quote's very true, where it's people spend millions and millions of dollars on DR. Denuvo is one of the newer kind of types of digital DRM software that has been put on a lot of games, specifically EA games. and they keep on upping the ante, spending tons and tons of money on these supposedly uncrackable systems that makes their game safe, and then within 24 hours a bunch of people have cracked it. It's already pirated anyway, so why even spend the time doing it? People are just going to crack it anyways.
It's true.
So
Just save the money and then be a good guy, because you can actually generate goodwill for yourself if you say, you know what, we're putting out this AAA title with no DRM, and like, sure, your title will get pirated, but it was going to get pirated anyway, so who cares?
Yeah. Right.
And
your other option is to make every game that you make an online game, which is why we have so many online games, is because people don't want the fear of piracy thing is a weird thing that I think it only exists in like executive headquarters of these big companies, and that's why we have it so much. Because you look at it, it's a perfect example. You look at CD Projekt Red, and they're the heralds of this anti-DRM thing. All of their games, The Witcher 3 and all their games come out completely DRM free. They give you free DLC forever as long as you own the game. It came with like a thank you note to the players in the game box if you bought it. Super, super good consumer practices. And they make millions of dollars. So I don't see why other people don't look at that and try to emulate it more. Good on them, I think, for saying fuck you, DRM.
Yeah.
Get out of here.
Get out of here. So, let's see. We're going to talk about Diablo 3 real quick. As I had reported, because I, had been very interested, several times in the past, multiple Diablo projects in the works. There was rumors, there was Eurogamer sources that leaked it, and then last week on August 16th, we got confirmation that, yes, Diablo 3 is coming to the Nintendo Switch this fall at some point. And it's pretty cool. It's going to have 1 to 4 player, or it's going to include all the DLC. So the Reaper of Souls and Rise of the Necromancer expansions will be included. It will be $60, which, if you're including both the DLCs, kind of makes that work. Yeah. I mean, it's still a little high, but
it's a full price game. All that stuff. I think that's worth $60.
Yeah, and it will have 1 to 4 player couch co-op, as well as online co-op. And I'm super excited for that, because I really want to play Diablo couch co-op. I played it couch co-op back when I played Diablo 1 on my PlayStation.
Oh, that was an awful port of that game.
It was a really bad port. Movement was so clunky and horrible. It was
rough.
Awful. But it was fun to be able to play Diablo multiplayer, sitting next to somebody. Because then you had Diablo 2, everybody had to do LAN parties to play multiplayer. That was also fun, but just not as convenient.
Sure.
And supposedly they're working on other Diablo projects as well, like multiple. That's what they had said.
Yeah.
I'm still holding out hope we're going to get a remaster of Diablo 2, and that will head to Switch as well.
That's possible. And
I think that if Diablo 3 does well on Switch, there's a higher chance of that. I'm pretty excited. I'm definitely going to check this out.
Did you play? You played it on PC, right?
Yes, I played it when it first came out, so I had the worst of the Diablo 3 experiences, because
back in
the auction house
days.
It was not as good, and I didn't buy either of the expansions because of that, but I have heard from multiple people, it's much better now. So instead of me cracking that back open and seeing all the changes they made, I'm like, I'll just wait a couple months and buy it on Switch and then play it over and play all the expansion content there.
The expansion stuff's really good. And from what I've heard, because it came out on other consoles as well, I've heard that the controller support's actually pretty good in it. It actually works pretty well, which I'm still skeptical of, but I'll we'll see. I'll get a direct report from you to see if it's any good.
Yeah.
Because Blizzard does not have a good, as we mentioned, there was Diablo 1 on PS1, and there was StarCraft on N64.
Yeah, N64.
You remember those commercials with Saddam Hussein in it? They do not have a great history of controller support on consoles, mostly because their games are very much PC games, but apparently they've cracked that nut. It's a great game. It's a great on-the-go game, because it's current. Back in the day, in the auction house days, it was not meant for like little bits of gameplay, but now the way like rifts are set up and things like that, and and like set gear is set up. It's very much good for like a train trip or like a bus ride or something like that. So
Totally.
I think it'll work out really well.
So that's gonna be pretty cool. Also, I think I had mentioned this before several weeks ago, but Titan's Quest, is that what it's called? The Diablo
Yeah.
clone from like 2006
Mm-hmm.
came out on Switch, and I was like, oh, I don't know when Diablo's gonna come out on Switch. Maybe I'll buy this to tide me over. And then I read some of the reviews, and apparently that port is garbage. It's like it doesn't control well, it crashes all the time, it's like not optimized for the small screen, so some of like the dialogue boxes and like menus and stuff are really small on that screen.
Yeah.
It's real bad. So
I don't know why that game hung around for so long because I played it when it came out and didn't think it was very good.
I mean, I thought I played it on PC. I have it on PC. I think it's fine.
Yeah,
It's just
it's
not
alright.
as good as
Diablo 2.
Diablo. Yes, it's not as good as Diablo 2, the game that it's obviously spoofing. And, you know, if I'm playing on PC, I can just play Diablo 2, so I'm going to go do that.
Right.
But that was why I was like, oh, I don't know when they're going to put out Diablo on Switch, so maybe I'll play Titan Quest on Switch. Nope, that's a bad idea. Not going to do that.
No. Play Torchlight. Yeah, that's the name of it, right?
Yes, but that's not on Switch. That's also only on PC.
That's a good point.
Yeah. I have both of
Ever
the Torch. I have Torchlight 1 and 2. They're both great. I love them.
Yeah.
I wish they'd port that to Switch. That would be amazing. But I think the company that made it has gone away, so probably
'cause
not going to happen.
That was one of the guys, one of the original Diablo guys.
Yeah.
had that company, and then he's been in like 5 companies since Blizzard. He has not had a great run of
A
it.
little troubling. Maybe don't hire him. You might be
Yeah.
might be a bad sign that all of his companies keep going out of business.
Yeah, not great.
So, I mean, that's it for our main stories. But to talk about games, and I guess to segue into talking about games, there was a Nintendo Indie Showcase this week. It was 4 days ago, so it was like at the beginning of the week. An indie showcase came out of nowhere. No one knew it was going to happen, and then it happened. And it was like really fun. It was like 20-something minutes. It had a delightful British woman who was just very charismatic. And it talked about a lot of really cool games. Let's see if I can find a list of them. I probably can't.
I forgot to mention one of the funnier announcements at Gamescom was that Shenmue 3 got its release date, and it's August 2019. And I think that's like the furthest out game release that we have right now. Like, who the fuck announces that far out anymore? Especially because it probably won't hit it. Yeah, I thought that was funny. It's like, oh, Shenmue 3, you weird little creature, you. Still being developed somehow.
So
But,
the Nindy Showcase. Let me throw this article up here.
Whoa, we're going on the fly. We're flying by the seat of our pants. We're doing it live.
IGN. Not only is your editorial horrible, but your pages just don't load very well because it's trying to load like 16 videos at once.
I know,
and I'm
in
sure
their
they'll
proprietary fucking player because they need to have that.
Yeah, and I'm sure they'll all start auto playing as soon as I scroll through them. But we have Night Call, a noir sort of story based game where you're a Parisian taxi driver. That actually looks really cool.
It's like the third indie cab game that's coming out.
Maybe
because I think there's like a couple other ones recently too.
Monster Boy in the Cursed Kingdom, where you're a boy that can turn to different monsters, including a frog man, which is great. You can also be a dragon, which seems just infinitely better than a frogman. So why would you ever choose frogman? I don't know. The Gardens Between, which just looks like an indie darling, where you can like control time and it has like super artsy graphics. Streets of Rogue. I mean, it's what it sounds like.
Yeah.
It's 4-player co-op. That's cool. We have Bad North.
Bad North.
Oh, that's the real-time strategy game where you're fighting off Vikings. We've actually seen that at multiple Nindy showcases.
Oh, okay.
I think it's releasing now, and that's why they were talking about it at the beginning of the week. They talked about Moonlighter, which is coming out in the fall, which looks awesome, and I'm very excited about it. Did you hear about this Moonlighter game?
No, I've not heard of it.
Moonlighter is a game in which you play as a shopkeep in a fantasy adventure world, and during the day you sell your magical wares to adventurers that come into your shop. And then at night, you go out into the dungeons and scavenge for the magical wares that you can sell in your shop.
Ah, that's kind of fun.
Yeah, so it's cool. It's a fun. I don't know exactly how the shop management works, but it seems kind of like a combination between like a shop management game and then like a Legend of Zelda style like adventure action RPG.
Sounds cool. That
yeah.
sounds a lot like. Did you play a Reciteer?
No, I did
back
not.
in there? That's you play a shopkeep in a JRPG.
Oh,
in that game.
Let's see.
Good.
So that looks like a lot of fun. I'm very excited for that. This War of Mine is coming to Switch.
Ooh.
So get ready to get depressed on Switch.
Seriously, that game came out a long time ago. So,
Yeah. A game
horribly depressing game.
So there's also this game, and I don't want to play it because I feel like I won't be able to shut the audio off. But it's there's a Diablo-style indie game that is coming out for the Switch. That's coming out in early 2019, called Children of Morta, and I highly encourage you to look this game up because it looks freaking sweet. It has an awesome, sort of cool pixel art graphics like you'd expect from an indie game, but the gameplay looks like Diablo, and it looks really cool. I'm trying to find some screenshots or something, but I'm having
Children
a lot of trouble.
of Morta.
Children of Morta. Can I find some images? I can just put up this Google image search.
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah.
Oh, this it kind of has almost like a Hyperlight Drifter kind of look to it.
Oh, a little bit. Yeah, a little bit. So this game looks real freaking sweet, and I am very excited to try it out. I love the art style of this. So that got talked about, and early 2019, so still a ways off. Everspace. That's a roguelike space shooter. The graphics on that game are actually fantastic. Like really nice. Looks really pretty. That looks cool. Baba Is You is getting ported to Switch. Yeah. Which sounds delightful.
Baba Is You.
Yeah.
That's a weird Yeah. That was an indie darling as well.
Mm-hmm. Slay the Spire is a cool looking sort of deck builder RPG roguelike game.
Mm-hmm. I heard a lot of people like that game.
Yeah, it looks fun. And then we got, this was the best, Windjammers.
Oh my god.
The sweet 90s game about throwing discs on the beach.
Yeah, hell yeah.
Like a cool dude.
Game kicks ass.
Yeah, that game's getting ported to Switch, and we're getting Windjammers 2.
Holy shit.
So they're making a sequel, and it looks awesome.
Yeah. That's fucking great.
They had like an animated cutscene. It was like all these DBZ references. Just go watch it. It's fantastic. It's really, really good.
The French are very happy. For some reason, Windjammers is really France.
Yeah.
They still have like competitive tournaments of Windjammer and stuff. In Paris.
So I think that was the thing they ended the show on, but this article doesn't have that as their last thing. So we have Terraria is getting ported. Prison Architect is getting ported and is available now. And they talked about Morphe's Law, which just is a delightful looking game where you play as robots, and when you shoot each other, they shrink and you grow. Game. Yeah.
Yeah.
You also look like luchador wrestlers, kind of. It's great.
Yes. Who made that? Because there's some more interesting thing about like the creator, but I can't remember who made that.
Cosmoscope is the name of the company.
Yeah. Yeah, that game looks crazy. But yeah.
So that was a thing. Those were what they talked about, and then they announced that on the 28th they're going to do another Nindies showcase.
Jesus Christ!
So they got a lot of Nindies to talk about, I guess, because they're about to they did one without telling us they were going to do one, and it had 16 titles on it, and then they announced they're going to do another one. So there's a lot. They got a lot of Nindies to show off.
They are just becoming like they're killing it with the indie game going on. Like they basically just like went and robbed half of Steam and then got another half of people from out of nowhere, and they're just smashing it all together on this one little console.
So, let's see. In terms of games that just came out, games that are about to come out, we had Guacamelee 2, speaking of indie darlings, came out on the 21st and has been getting very, very good reviews. Came out on the Windows and the PS4. We had Return of Double Dragon come out for the Super Nintendo gaming console.
What?
Yep. I actually need to look into that. That sounds great.
Yeah. Is that one of those weird, like, it's like a group of, like, a really small developer that put out, like, an actual cartridge or something?
It probably. I think that's... Let's see here. Return.
There's an Amazon for it. Retroism. Return of Double Dragon. SNES compatible.
Oh, that's stupid. When I try and go to the Wikipedia page for that game, it just goes to Super Double Dragon. Although actually no, it says Super Double Dragon was known as in Japan as Return of Double Dragon. So maybe it's a port of an older game. I'm not 100% sure. I don't know. That sounds interesting though. I mean, I always love when people like wasn't it just last episode we were talking about how they released Tanglewood for the Mega
Drive. Yeah.
But also for modern systems, you know.
Right. Yeah, there's always you get one of those like every couple months some crazy person's out there putting out something on the Atari still.
Yeah. It's fun.
It's pretty great.
So, let's see here. What else did we have? Shenmue and Shenmue 2 released on the 21st for Windows, PS4, and Xbone.
Sure.
My Hero 1's Justice. I don't know.
Yeah.
Sure.
Great.
Whatever. Let me just skip. Oh my gosh, Night Trap 25th Anniversary Edition came to Switch.
Da-da-da-da-da.
That's
Watch
today. That's today, everybody. Today you can play
shit.
Night Trap 25th Anniversary Edition on Nintendo Switch.
For some reason, if you ever wanted to.
I want to. Let me tell you, that's on my wish list.
Game sucks, by the way.
Yeah, no, it really does. It's terrible. So then coming up, we have a bunch of stuff on the 28th. We have The Blob 2 Remastered for the Switch. So
Donut County. I've been waiting for that, actually.
Mm-hmm. We have Monster Hunter Generations Ultimate coming out for the Switch. That's cool. We have Pro Evolution Soccer 2019 coming out for Windows, PS4, and Xbox.
People love those games.
Yeah, we have, let's see. Oh, Victor Van is getting ported to the Switch, which kind of a sleeper hit type of game. I've read a lot of good reviews of it, but I have not heard... I didn't hear a lot of press when it came out about it.
I never heard of it.
And that's actually also a very similar to Diablo type game, but it is not new. I think it came out a while ago. Then we have some other things I haven't heard of. And
Yakuza.
Then supposedly at the beginning of September, Dragon Quest 11 is coming out on the Windows and the PS4. Gonna be cool. So that's all for that stuff. Was there any other games you knew about that you wanted to mention?
No, I don't think so.
All right, cool. Well, we've gotten through everything. We did it all. It'll only a half-hour extra podcast for you this month. So, hey, everybody, if you've enjoyed watching or listening to this, check us out on our social media, such as Twitter, @DCTF Podcast. We tweet when we're going live with the show, and we tweet when episodes go up for your viewing pleasure. So if you want to keep track of that, and if we ever do game streams, which happen every once in a while, recently... I started a playthrough of Divinity Original Sin 2 with another YouTuber who is a good friend of the channel. So, yeah, if we're doing any stuff like that, that's what our social media is for, so that you'll be up to date. Other stuff, if you want to check out our archives, we have an archive on YouTube of all of the videos. So if you're watching on Twitch and there's it's no longer archived on Twitch, it'll probably be on our YouTube. And if you just want to listen... we are on iTunes, just by searching Don't Copy That Floppy. Or you can go over to our amazing benefactor, chipit.net, which is our host site for everything. So all of the episodes are also on there as well. If you want to support the show, giving us a rating and review on iTunes, or subscribing to us on YouTube, or throwing us some bits on Twitch are all really fantastic ways to do that, and we would super appreciate it. Or if you want to make a longer term commitment, you can give us money every month on our Patreon page and get access to special bonus content. So that's all that stuff. And thank you for listening or watching.
Hey, thanks.
Whatever. And until next time, Chris, what do people have to remember?
Fuck DRM, fuck the Oscars, and fuck don't copy that floppy.